Tate McRae has come a long way from posting vlogs and original emo songs on YouTube from her bedroom, and to think all of this happened as a result of a broken camera. Well, not entirely, but that broken camera was the catalyst for the Tate McRae we now know as one of pop's current it girls. Tate McRae's third studio album, So Close to What, started making waves even before its official release earlier this year in February. It was leaked online, but Tate quickly turned it around by recording additional songs, making some adjustments to some others, and releasing the songs the way she intended. Beginning with the first single and music video, It's Okay, I'm Okay, which had me gagged. I actually did a compare and contrast video about it that nobody watched, so please check it out, give it some love, the link is below. Next single and music video was Two Hands, then Sports Car, Revolving Door, which dropped the same day the album was released, which is always a brilliant idea to get people to listen to a track they perhaps may have skipped or overlooked. I Know Love, the track with her current boyfriend, the Kid Laroi, also has a music video. And as of this morning, as I write this script, she dropped another one called Just Keep Watching, which isn't on the album, but that's a total of 6 music videos, which is on par with pop stars from the 2000s. And as she's what I like to call the reigning princess of Y2K pop references, this is very fitting. Also lately, it's been very common for artists to drop 2, maybe 3 music videos if we are lucky, because some of them don't even drop music videos anymore. And then they dip out and go on tour, or say they're going on tour and then it's crickets. But not Tate. Both she and her team have been working overtime, getting her on every podcast, late night show, radio station, SNL to promote this album. Like, bitch, work. I mean, why not do it now while she's young and has all the energy, like Rihanna? But I'll get to Rihanna later on in the video because the point I want to make is a bit long, and this video isn't about her. It's about Tate. Anyway, Tate being everywhere paid off. So Close to What debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart, with 11 songs out of her 15-track album also making it onto the Billboard's Hot 100 chart. A moment of silence. And to think she once thought that songwriting and dance should be kept separate. Let's talk about that, shall we? Because I find it fascinating. In an interview with Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers for Las Culturistas podcast, Tate mentioned that after getting home to Calgary in Canada from LA, where she competed on So You Think You Can Dance, she decided to post choreographed dances on YouTube every Friday. Let's pause there for a second because I didn't even know she was on that show, and I remember religiously watching it from like 2007 through 2009 while in college. Yes, I am totally showing my age. But there were these 2 performances that stuck out to me that I always go back to every once in a while when I'm feeling nostalgic. But anyway, Tate had come in 3rd place for that season, which is actually brilliant for a then 13-year-old Tate. So then her camera broke the one day, so she couldn't post on Friday. So instead, she wrote a song to the chords of Tequila by Dan and Shay, posted it, and I don't know how she posted it because she said her camera had broken, hence why she couldn't post choreography in the first place. Maybe she recorded it on her phone or laptop camera, but the song went viral, and then all the record labels came a-knocking. It's funny because I used to confuse Tate's songs for Julia Michaels, and now we find out that she worked with Julia for this album. In fact, it was Julia's idea for Tate to do a whisper chorus for Sports Car.
Julia Michaels, I had worked with her back when I was 16. I was just very confused about what kind of music I wanted to make. And so it was interesting coming this time around, knowing that I wanted to make a dance song, knowing what I wanted the sonics to sound like. And so I was like, this is the beat that we need. She was like, I might sound crazy, but I think we should do a whisper chorus. I was like, Julia, that is insane. Because I also love a melodic chorus. That's really freaky. Also, I'm just like, I'm not a rapper. I'm not like, it's not just like me and an 808 like going ham on a chorus. Like, I am a pop girl. So I was like, we have to execute this perfectly for this to work.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, I was never crazy about You Broke Me First. You with Troye Sivan was more my speed, but I still viewed her as just another TikTok girl who can sing, sort of like the girl who sang A, B, C, D, E, F, U, if I'm being honest. Also, sidebar, I didn't realize until recently that Troye was also a YouTuber turned pop star from Australia and was in Ariana Grande's Thank You Next video. Yeah, I'm so behind. I know. But back to Tate. And then Greedy happened and had me on mute.
Y'all won that one.
In the interview previously mentioned, Tate says once she got into songwriting, she really enjoyed it, but couldn't see how she could combine or didn't know how to combine it with ballet, which she was formally trained in, and so she decided to keep both talents separate until she couldn't anymore. So much to unpack here. I am going to be going slightly off topic, but bear with me, I am going somewhere with this. First of all, Save the Last Dance, in my opinion, made mixing ballet and hip-hop/dance pop trendy or cool. Before anyone gets in the comment section, I have seen the YouTube short of Rob Anderson clowning the movie, and I 100% agree with everything he said. But for the time the movie came out, which is in the late 90s, Julia Stiles' acting and dancing was cool. And I know this movie was before Tate's time. She was born in 2003, but the whole of So Close to What is mostly inspired by early 2000s pop. But also Save the Last Dance, in my opinion, again, paved the way for all those romantic dance movies from the 2000s into the 2010s, which were literally everywhere, like Step Up, Honey, You Got Served, and Stomp the Yard, a few of which mixed different dance genres. Secondly, to be a pop star in the 2000s into the early 2010s meant being a singer and a dancer. And if you could act, even better. Triple threat. So the fact that she felt she had to keep both talents separate is crazy to me. But then again, she came up in the music industry in the era of indie music and EDM, and performing as a millennial, knew it in the 2000s wasn't quite the same. So I understand that she probably felt a need to only do the quote-unquote sad girl thing, as that was dominating the charts from 2019 through 2022. This is just an assumption, by the way, but the quote-unquote sad girl thing only made her blend in because too many pop girlies her age were doing that. She still has those emotional songs in So Close to What for her OG fans, but adding the dance elements to the album has instantly made her stand out, as a lot of her counterparts could never. She's definitely filled in a void missing in pop today. That being said, let's get into these tracks now. But first, what's up beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaira, better known as simply Yaya. I am proudly African, from Cameroon, born and bred. I worked for Disney for the better half of my young adult life, and more recently, Whole Foods. I am always working on leveling and glowing up, and I have a Master of Science in Journalism, which informs how I view and discuss some aspects of pop culture on this channel. And for early access to my videos and some additional content and perks, you may sign up for my membership by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. It's $4.99 a month. I already have an hour-long juicy storytime video uploaded if you're into longer videos. Now back to our regular scheduled program. Now, how about that album title? So Close to What was written while on tour for her previous album, Think Later, hence the road or driving visuals or themes in her album trailer, and songs like Sports Car, Two Hands, Greenlight, Siren Sounds, as well as themes of no end in sight, being caught in a loop, being indecisive in songs like Revolving Door. Here's what Tate had to say in the Apple Music podcast about that album title.
Let's talk about the album title, right? I want to know what So Close to What kind of means to you. This idea of it always just being slightly out of reach. And is that okay?
I just felt that way a lot looking into my life as a 21-year-old this year. Just feeling like I was pursuing this career that, like what I was talking about at the beginning, like you have to fall in love with the process because you feel like sometimes you're working towards this never-ending finish line or this finish line that actually doesn't exist. And you could get to these milestones that you think about forever, and you get there and you're like, okay, why do I not feel satisfied with myself yet? Why do I not feel good enough yet? Why do I not? And I just think that was a reoccurring theme in my life, and relationships being like, oh, I have to do this again now. I just got heartbroken and now I have to re-fall in love. I have to reintroduce myself to someone. And I'm just like, oh, life just kind of felt like this revolving door, this never-ending road, this visual that I was just like, you have to define where you find your happiness because life isn't going to do that for you.
Miss Possessive. I wouldn't have known that was Sydney Sweeney in the beginning if I didn't watch that Jimmy Fallon interview. This song reminds me of this clip I had seen floating around on Facebook a while back while I was still on Facebook, where a couple, so a guy and a girl, were sitting front row at a fashion show, so right next to the runway. And then one of the models, a woman, started to walk towards said couple, but it was clear she was attempting to flirt with the guy, and his girlfriend immediately raised her foot to put some distance between her boyfriend and this model, and then proceeded to put that same leg across her boyfriend's lap to mark her territory, letting that model know what was good. Two Hands. I've been waiting for a pop song like this for a while. Such an earworm in the best way. The lyrics are Giving Into You by Rihanna. Not so surprising, as Tate has said Rihanna was one of the pop girls she used to fangirl over or stan back in the day. I would insert the reference clip, but every time I've inserted an iHeartRadio clip in my video, it has gotten blocked, and so I've had to go back and remove it from my video and re-upload it. But that podcast is linked below, among others. Check it out if you care. But anyway, in the song, Tate says she doesn't need the guy telling her he loves her 17 times a day. She just wants his two hands on her. Rihanna says she wants a little less conversation and a little more touch her body. And bad girl Riri just said, now shut up and drive. Revolving Door is a mix between lo-fi ambient music and a workout song. I watched that music video and again, couldn't believe she wanted to keep dance and singing separate at one point. Some pop girls can do choreography, but Tate can dance. There's a difference. I can't help but think of Single Ladies when I saw the video. I am not comparing Tate to Beyonce, let's be clear, but both videos are clearly strictly about dancing, in heels no less, and they are both devoid of color, on purpose to avoid distractions. Also, Tate has referenced Single Ladies in the Las Culturistas podcast. I love that the rewind or reversal of some of the moves could have been a nod to her older dance vlogs, and of course the lyrics of going round and round in circles but going nowhere, or ending up back at square one like a revolving door. And yeah, sometimes I need a minute after using a revolving door in order to get myself together because everything is spinning and I'm dizzy. Blood on My Hands. If I remember correctly, this was one of the songs she added to the album after it had gotten leaked. The unfortunate event sparked more creativity and ended up filling a hole that needed to be filled in the album, she said. She also said she had always wanted to do a Miami-based song anyway, and now she did, and her first collab with a rapper. Dear God, relatable. I used to do that, reach out only when I have a problem. In her case, she's reaching out, pleading for the pain of the heartbreak to be taken away. Purple Lace Bra. I love a good cello solo. The beginning of that verse reminded me of Beyoncé's Drunk in Love. Anyway, this is about her relationship with the media, though the imagery used sounds like it could be about some guy. Coming into your own is weird enough without people making comments about it. She said one day she would feel confident and empowered, and the next she would feel away because the way she came off in a music video was received differently. This is where the concept of separating the art from the artist comes up. In Tate's case, she's Tatiana on stage, and that doesn't mean she's being fake. It just means, for one, she's doing her job, and for two, it's a bit of a coping mechanism. When you give so much of yourself in songs that millions of people are listening to and judging you, you gotta keep something for yourself, and maybe that's her way of doing that. Sports car. It sounds like Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls, but Tate has said in interviews that it was not a sample of Buttons, but rather inspired by songs from that era. Love the video even without any sports cars in it. It's very avant-garde. The sports car appears in two hands, just like the purple lace bra appears in It's Okay, I'm Okay. And thus, the Tate McRae cinematic universe begins. Sidebar, I hope to see her at the Met Gala next year, and perhaps on Hot Ones and NPR's Tiny Desk concert. Signs. Love the change in octaves towards the end of the song. Like I Do seems to be addressed to the haters. No, I'm not in love. Love her sense of humor in this one. Means I Care has that dancehall feel like Wayne Wonder's No Letting Go, Lumidee's Never Leave You, but also sounds like the beginning of I'm on Top of the World by Imagine Dragons. It has a similar message to No, I'm Not in Love and Signs. It's the denial of it all, or doing and saying things that have a clear meaning, but saying they don't, or saying they have the opposite meaning to the ones she's conveying. I know she's discussing being 21 and being in love, or being scared of admitting she's in love, but it also sounds like she's referencing bad TikTok relationship advice. Greenlight reminds me of Rihanna's Everyday. Also, I should say that when I say a song reminds me of another, it doesn't necessarily mean lyrically. It could be a vibe thing. Also, I know that most of my viewers understand this, but it bears repeating. When I say a song sounds like another, it doesn't mean the artist in question ripped off another artist. It could be that they had the same producer or are under the same record label. Also, there are only so many original melodies one can make without it sounding similar to someone else's, which is why artists suing for a song sounding like theirs has always confused me. I mean, I get it, it's business, but no one has monopoly over musical notes or chords. Back to Greenlight. The ball is in her court in regards to this relationship, but she's scared to move forward because she doesn't want to get hurt again. She's talking about two different people in this song, as she mentions in this video by American Express. Nostalgia. Love a good indie song, but why does this song feel like a stripped down version of what the original could have been? It's good, but could have been killer with more beats or layers to it. Also, I have to mention the whole Super Bowl prediction, since this is the track in which she mentions something about manifestation. It's important to note that she's gone on record to say that she knows nothing about football. We have that in common. But in 2023, she said this.
I think it's gonna be, wait, 70 and, no. Okay, it's gonna be 40 and 22.
Who's winning?
Obviously Philly.
And then it came to pass in 2025. Tate has also said she thinks she might have some psychic abilities.
That is Tate McRae years ago accurately predicting the score of this year's score of this year's Super Bowl. What's the story behind that video?
Okay, to be clear, I didn't really know what I was talking about. I didn't know anything about football. But it was funny. It was like in 2023, a girl just asked me, she was like, if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl, which at the time, I think this would have been their first Super Bowl back. Or I don't know. I literally don't know. And she was like, if they make the Super Bowl, what's the score going to be? And that's what I said. And it's funny because I actually in life I think I'm a little clairvoyant. Like I do think that happens quite a few times in my life where I'll like say something and it definitely does happen. Or I'll like dream something. So that was just funny because I was like, I really don't know anything about football.
I think we all have that to some capacity. It's called intuition, gut feeling, sixth sense. However, I believe some people are more in tune with it than others. Some people may be born with it and others may develop it. Just my opinion. Tate says she meditates often, so that could be it. She may be so aligned that she's able to manifest things quickly. A blessing and curse. Good and bad things could be manifested without delay. Siren sounds, another ambient euphoric sound reminiscent of the 2010s. I Know Love featuring the Kid Laroi. This is one of my faves on the album. They are cute together. To be honest, I initially was going to say that this isn't going to age well should they break up, but that's just me projecting. Anyway, anytime the collab is brought up in an interview, she giggles, shifts around in her chair. It's cute to be young and in love. I'm really aging myself with that, but that's okay. My favorites on the album are It's Okay, I'm Okay, Two Hands, Dear God, I Know Love, Sports Car, No I'm Not in Love, and Like I Do. Love the bass in those songs. They are great for a car ride. Volume up, windows down, it's a vibe. Since we are on the topic of cars and driving, Tate and I have another thing in common. She failed her driver's license test 6 times before the 7th time was the charm.
Yeah, I failed my driver's test 3 times the first time. And then when I got to LA, another 3 times.
So you failed it 6 times.
Yes.
Same. I failed it 6 times here in Philly because of parallel parking and nerves, and then just took it in Florida, where there's no parallel parking on the test and passed with flying colors. The only criticism I have is she could use some better enunciation on some of the songs because I had to listen to every track while reading the lyrics, which isn't a big deal, minor inconvenience. However, if I didn't do that, I definitely would have misheard some things. Anyway, I really hope to get some tickets to her show in Philly in September because I know she'll give us a show and ticket prices aren't bad at all, for now anyway. One last thing to mention. I said something in a previous video that I wanted to revisit as it is a bit relevant. As I mentioned, Tate is literally everywhere, doing interviews, putting in the work, and her album debuted at #1 on the charts. And she signed to RCA, the same record label Normani is signed to. No, I'm not about to make this about race before anybody gets in my comments. So in this video, I had mentioned Normani needed to maybe switch labels or something because she wasn't getting the push she deserves. This could very well be true, but also it could also be true that Normani may not be doing her part and probably doesn't really want it that badly. She dropped her album last year after much anticipation, and I loved the album. There hasn't been a single music video from the album. Wild Side doesn't count. She had also said in an interview that she's worked too hard on the album for her not to go on tour, and yet there's been radio silence from her since the album dropped. There aren't even any physical copies of the album to order. I did not realize this until very recently after posting that video, as she recently got engaged to a football player. There's been some speculation disguised as jokes that she may very well pull a Sierra moving forward, only dropping music when she wants, now, but not because she needs to fulfill some requirement. This isn't to say she's in it for the money, as she is accomplished on her own. Or maybe she is. I don't know, and I don't care. Not the point. Point is, perhaps she was never really about the pop star lifestyle of always being on the go and always being on display to be picked apart. And that's fine. But why make promises she can't uphold? This leads me into the point I was trying to make about Rihanna earlier in the video. Fans have been waiting for new music from her for a while. And while I would love new music from her, I won't be mad if she never puts out an album ever again. She doesn't need to at this point. She's fulfilled her record label contract requirement, paid her dues most likely, and she probably wants to focus on family now and other business endeavors, which are more lucrative than music. She's given us 8 great albums, 4 of which were back-to-back at the same age Tate currently is. I wouldn't release any music after that either. Going back to So Close to What? Tate said she named the album so because she felt like she was chasing this career in the music business, sometimes not knowing what she even wanted out of it, but also knowing she'd rather be doing it than anything else, but also feeling like she's working towards something with no end in sight. That revolving door theme again. But then she gains some perspective by the time she gets to the last track, Nostalgia. In the comments, let me know how you feel about the album or Tate as an artist. I saw some discourse about her not being a main pop girl, which to me is insane, but everyone is entitled to their opinion. She may not have a distinct hairstyle or a color that's associated with her, but she's got dance. That alone separates her from her peers. But if we want to get all superficial, the hockey glove is her thing. If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for more. I got reviews of Miley, Chloe Bailey's Trouble in Paradise, SZA's Lana, Tyla, Lord, and Cynthia Erivo coming up next. And be sure to watch this one next.